It's Wednesday, that means it's DeFi time. Let's take a look at some DeFi charts, which continue to have a bit of a moment in the sun. As a sector, here's Bitcoin dominance, something that isn't really actionable that much, in my opinion, as far as tradable. It just sort of gives you a barometer of what's going on. Bitcoin dominance is heavily below the 200-day moving average now for several days. Historically, that means it is altcoin season, just in case you weren't sure. I'm on the record a few days ago in a podcast saying that it's DeFi season. Wasn't so sure at that point whether it was altcoin season or not, but clearly the Doge Mania, a non-DeFi coin, popping off was really part of that altcoin season picture. So a bit of a head and shoulders type thing here, but I don't think any of this is super tradable or actionable. Just interesting what's going on. Also a death cross coming up here on the 5200. Looking at the DeFi Perps Index 12-hour FTX. This thing just continues to moon into the stratosphere. You had this triple bottom on the 200-day, or the 100-day moving average in this case. And ever since then, it's just been straight 45-degree angle plus to the upside, despite bearish divergences printing over and over and over again. It doesn't matter. Big down day on the 11th, bigger down day on the 25th, I believe it was. And since then, it's just been truly breathtaking. The swiftness of many of the coins I'm about to talk about, Aave and a few others, DOT, which just continue to mega moon. If you look at the Uniswap Perp Index, this is the top 100 Uniswap coins. Those also have done extremely well. So those consolidated actually a little bit earlier if we compare that. I guess it was around the same time, November to January. So a little later actually. So late November to January, that consolidation. Then you had your cross, and it's just been, again, just absolute mania. This is printing a successive bearish divergence on every higher high, so that is something to be wary of, certainly. Looking at Link on the USD chart, just continues to follow the pitchfork as expected. Nothing really to say here. It did hit an all-time high again, hit the R2. I like the R5 yearly pivot by September, just based on the median line. It's really been hugging that yellow line historically most of its life. And if we look at, especially here, very unusual type activity to me, unless something's going on here, right? Believe in the voodoo or not, but the median line was clearly being respected there. Now Link continues to sell as a project, millions of Link per month. Here's the Link BTC chart, the only BTC chart of all of them that I'll be looking at, just because it's sort of the DeFi leader, so I wouldn't get too caught up on how the USD charts look if the BTC charts look like this, right? If the BTC charts have just sold off over the past few months and continue to sell off into the year, you're not really gaining much if BTC is just outperforming, right? If the argument is I want to be in BTC or something else, and you're looking at this, trying to make that decision, very important to look at charts like this. Also charts like Link ETH or Aave ETH. You're always short one, long the other. If you're long Aave, you're not in ETH, right? So effectively you are long Aave, short ETH, long Aave, short BTC, that sort of thing. Because you're saying, all right, I expect Aave to outperform BTC or ETH. I'm not going to look at any of the other BTC charts, which all are doing phenomenal, but just keep that in mind. So Aave USD continues to just, breathtakingly hit the 200 a couple times, consolidated here, and since 70 it has how many x'd? 4x'd? More than that? I don't know. I can't do the math on that. The simple math. 70 times 5 is 35, so over 5x. Almost a 10x. Let's say between a 5 and 10x in a few months is just insane, right? No bear div on this either, by the way. So I like, does it hit 1,000? Does it 2x from here? I don't know. I mean, it just keeps keeping on. I don't know. Just moon. It's tough for me to look at this and want to get in at any point other than the consolidation period, between 70 to 100. That was really the entry. Up here for me personally, it's just, it's not for me. Uni 6 hour had that consolidation and it's been moon ever since. Successive bearish divergence here on every single high. So again, not a trade for me, but does look really good at 20. I like pullbacks to 15, 13, 15, somewhere in there based on the 200 period moving average and the monthly pivot, SNX. I left a lot of these chart patterns and targets on here. The charts might look a little messy, but just to bring home the point that when you're seeing a consolidation happen, fibs are your friend. I did a video on fibs for BNC earlier this week. You can check that out if you have no clue what I'm talking about. But you had your consolidation, multi-month consolidation on SNX, tapped the 200, went below the 200, and ever since then it's just been straight up along with everything else. This is KuCoin, so the volume is a little dubious at best. It looks like this volume is just skyrocketing, right? But I'm not so sure. Sorry, KuCoin. And there's a bearish divergence on all this as well. Does it hit 40? You know, does Aave hit 1,000? Does the Uni hit 40? YFI USD, probably the most unexciting DeFi chart. Heavily ranging between 20 and 40, basically. $1,000, which is insane to say out loud. It's got tons of VPVR support here. It had 2 bearish attempts to break down and just didn't. It had an attempt at a bearish 5200 cross, didn't happen. This is just always a no trade for me unless there's some massive bullish thing like a bull div. I just think it's an absurd coin, an absurd chart, an absurd price for yeah, it's just not for me. So is this bullish? Trend wise, yes. You know, where does this go, right? Does it 2x, 3x? That's the question you have to be asking if you're trading this versus something else that you think has a potential to 2x, 3x, 4x. Comp USD, I remember making fun of Comp as it was getting dumped on Coinbase day over day over day. Broke 100, broke 90, broke 80, I think 79 maybe was the low, something in there. Sellers ran out of Comp to sell, got bored or whatever, and reconsolidated, got your bull cross, and again, it's just followed everything else. It's hard to know, you know, what's doing well here. DeFi as a sector or all these individual coins, because everything is just mega mooning. So this tells me once this cools off, everything is going to take the elevator down, as it were. 60 to 90% pullbacks are highly probable for the entire sector. You know, when everything slows down, when everything cools off, this may go on for another 36 months, right? But when the inevitable happens that gravity catches up with this stuff, you're looking at 60 to 90% retraces on everything for sure. So unlike a few of these others, this is actually consolidating here, some sort of flag pennant thing. Higher highs would be 680, support at 270, 350, 300, any round number. It's over 2x from the 200 period moving average at this point. So not really a trade for me unless this reconsolidates to the upside. Ren USD, another mega consolidation pattern that looked like just random chop, right? Hit the 200 a couple times, eventually broke up, and it hit its 1618 measured move target. Over the past few days, it's on the R1 monthly pivot. So upside, I like $1.15. I like $1.30. Probably gonna be massive resistance at $1 just because that's psychological resistance. There is a bearish divergence here as well. Serum, yeah, it basically had a series of like rising channels, rising wedges, some massive volatility thing, and then today or the day before, just, you know, 360 to 440, 460, whatever it is. Decent support here on the downside, 250, 180, 118. You know, here was the consolidation. Here was the cross. So it is, you know, it's tough to get in, right? And when a chart looks like this, at least for me, when it's straight up in a day, it's at a USD all-time high, I believe. So can this pull a 2x, 3x, 4x? Another benefit to some of these DeFi coins is that they are less than $10. So new players with not a lot of cash can get in heavy on some of these percentage-wise relative to other coins. You know, they maybe can't buy a full Aave, but they can buy 10 or less Serum, right? Like this is the kind of psychological games that need to be thought of when you're looking at like sector health, sector rotation, right? Because most of these people getting in to this stuff aren't sophisticated crypto investors, sophisticated legacy people even, I don't think. They're probably just people speculating on DeFi. That'd be my guess. Not that that's a bad thing. That's just, I think, what's going on right now as a whole. Algo had this macro inverted head and shoulders finally breaking up. Broke $1 or like $2, right? Like, I mean, just keep climbing this monthly pivots, climbing the fibs on the measured move, whatever. I didn't add that here. I had a bull cross on the daily earlier this year. No bear div yet on RSI or volume. So this looks good for more. Band. Talked about the bullish Kumo breakout a couple of videos ago. That's broken up, definitely less so than a lot of the other coins, but it still looks good for all-time high retests or 20, right? Just round numbers. Don't have to overthink any of this. DOT has continued to just get pumped into oblivion and had this really interesting U-shaped consolidation over multiple months. There was a paper I read a while back about looking at U-shaped versus inverted U-shaped, and the idea was that anything that looks like this typically leads to bullish continuation, and anything that looks inverse is bearish continuation. I don't think that's like hard to understand or believe, but it's interesting to see it play out like that. So this led to inverted head and shoulders, which broke up as expected, and then all of a sudden, this is where the insanity started. Reconsolidated a few days ago into a nice pennant flag thing, which has continued to just break up. So 20, 30, 40, 50, right? Like just, again, psychological round hole numbers. I like that this spent several days consolidating at 17. Nice little VPVR notch here. If this sells off, it's going to retest 17 first. It's not going to go all the way to 10, most likely, because there was some market memory there at that level of 17. Kava, again, just like Band, had a bullish Kumo breakout on the daily a few days ago, and it's just been up. I like all-time high retest. I like 10, 15, like why not, right? Just some multiple of 4, 8, 16, something like that. Tons and tons of volume on the way down, should this sell off or get denied at all-time high levels. Sushi, probably the cleanest of the trends of everything, because it's very early on. This is November. Everything pretty much consolidated, like we've been talking about, into November, December, January. Sushi, on the other hand, has just continued just a clean uptrend over and over and over again. It's consolidated and led to market phase after market phase over and over. Held above the 50 on the 6 hour for the most part, the entire time. Held above the cloud the entire time for the most part. So all this looks really good, right? The trend is your friend. You can't say it's over. This is the cleanest, least exciting, least spiky DeFi chart. So I like 20, I like 25, I like whatever the diluted market cap is relative to Uni. Everybody's going to be looking at Uni for all these other exchange tokens like Sushi, 1inch, etc. BZRX had this interesting falling wedge Psi type situation November, December. Had a bull div that broke up, bullish Kumo breakout, bullish 5200 cross, and then it eventually hit its 1618 measured move just this week, kind of as expected. So again, chart patterns, all you got to do, take the high, take the low, use the fibs. There's your target. Once the bottom is in, you can use the pattern itself to decide where the bottom is. You can use divergences to decide where the bottom is. You can use VPVR to decide when the path of least resistance is up versus down, or when it was at 21 cents and broke above the cloud, above all of the moving averages, right? There it's go time, and it's since doubled plus since then. I like $1, I like $1.50, right? Why not? Everything is just mega mooning, so just multiples from here, 2x, 3x looks fine. Again, another reason why Wi-Fi, why, right? Wi-Fi. Why would you bother when you can 2x, 3x, 4x on some random project that's sub $1, sub $10, regardless of the total circulating supply? Nobody really cares about fundamentals right now. Lastly, 1inch, probably the most bearish out of any of the charts I looked at least obviously bearish to me. Multi-shouldered head and shoulders over multiple days here. 5200 bear cross likely coming on the 1 hour chart. So a lot can happen between now and next week on this 1 hour chart. I like 4 as resistance. I like 650, 750, 650, 750 as resistance, 4 as support. If it breaks 4, things might get ugly, but looking at 1 inch's volume and total value locked versus Sushi, Uni, again, people are going to start looking at this stuff thinking, okay, what is the leader here in the pack based on volume? Is it worth it? What is the laggard here? Is it worth it? What is the total circulating supply? What is the total diluted supply? They're going to start comparing all that stuff, and people are going to start accumulating things that are on the bottom and maybe rotating out of things like Uni, swapping things around. Things are going to get a bit more sophisticated, I think, on that front, comparing all these together. So overall, again, it's another massive win for DeFi over the past week. I remember maybe 4 videos ago just laughing at DeFi because it was looked definitely not as bullish as it is now. Looked sad, looked like a sad clown, but now it's a happy clown dancing on the graves of all the doubters.